Yo, what's going on, you guys? IndieWire posted this article just the other day about Transformers 1, claiming they're going to bring the franchise to its Old Republic era. Obviously, that's a nod to Star Wars. I'm kind of interested to see what they mean by that. The article goes on to read the Transformers movies have as streamlined a continuity as the Fast and Furious series. From the franchise's inception to the live action movies retconning themselves with each new installment. And that was one of my biggest criticisms when I watched any of the Bayverse movies. It always felt like every time they came out with a new movie, they forgot the pre-existing backstory that they had already established in the previous film. They were constantly changing it just to fit the narrative of the story they were trying to tell in each new movie. Goes on, it says, now comes Transformers 1, a movie set before the live action films or even the 1986 animated film, kind of figured, but don't expect it to connect that directly to those titles, okay? Instead, this is the beginning of a new standalone continuity that takes us back to the very beginning, before the destruction of Cybertron, before the Civil War, and before there even were Megatron and Optimus Prime. This is a place of vast opportunity, the Transformers equivalent of the Old Republic era of Star Wars. That line like actually blows my mind right here. The equivalent of the Old Republic era of Star Wars. Listen, I love the Old Republic in Star Wars. The Old Republic dates back thousands and thousands of years before the prequel, before the original trilogy. Uh, Anakin wasn't even a thought at that point. When you consider the Old Republic, we're going so far back that those characters are so far removed, the ones that we know and love. And but, alternatively, the Old Republic also gave us some amazing characters like Darth Revan and Darth Malgus and Valkorion and so many other characters and great stories. And thank God Disney hasn't touched it at this point, because who knows what they would do with a lot of those characters. Now, I understand with Star Wars fans, maybe the Old Republic characters at the end of the day, maybe they challenge or they break lore. But you know what? Disney's been doing that anyways lately. Give us a Darth Revan movie. Give us 3 Darth Revan movies. Hell, when The Acolyte came out, I actually thought The Acolyte was going to be about, I don't know, maybe somebody going to a Sith Academy. But anyways, I don't know if I agree with this statement. Transformers going back to the Old Republic era is not just going back to the origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron. Those are great characters, do not get me wrong. I mean, they're legendary within the franchise. But if you wanted to go Old Republic in Transformers, you got to go even further back. You got to go back to, I don't know, Unicron and Primus and their war between each other. Director Josh Cooley says, I think of this as the beginning of a new continuity where eventually the kind of major set pieces that we come to know of Transformers would still happen, but it might not be exactly the same way. Okay, totally understand. I mean, this isn't the first time we've seen a new adaptation to already existing stories. I mean, there's a lot of different accepted continuities within the Transformers franchise, all with slight changes here and there. I mean, look at even the War for Cybertron and how it differs from the original G1 cartoon. I believe th- making these slight changes isn't going to do a disservice to the franchise. It'll allow us just more storytelling, or at least somebody's take on those particular origins. Now, they've taken liberties with Orion Pax and D16, and it goes on to explain that Transformers 1 takes place at a time when Optimus Prime and Megatron were simply known as Orion Pax and D16. The film has an epic story about the rise of these two leaders, while also including the start of a revolution, a years long conspiracy, and war with other aliens, and much more. It's a lot to cram in just about 90 minutes. Okay, sick. Okay, we got a 90-minute runtime. There's a lot that you can cover in 90 minutes, but at the same time, we're talking about the origin story for two characters that start off as friends and are well known to hate each other. So you got to build into that in a way that makes sense, where it doesn't feel rushed. He goes on to say, If we had all the time in the world, it would have been fun to show Megatron as a gladiator and have the two characters come from very different backgrounds. We actually had a gladiator scene that alluded to this origin that was cut out. Instead, Orion and D16 are reimagined as bunkmates. Okay, so we're getting the bunkmates story. I get it. They're like buddy buddy because they work together, but there was always something really appealing for me when I went back and read Transformers Exodus, and you get to see Megatron as a gladiator trying to rise through the ranks and get the attention of the council. He has a very specific set of ideals, while you also see Orion Pax working as a librarian in Iacon, and he hears the transmissions from Megatron, which inspires him to want to, work with him. He agrees the caste system on Cybertron doesn't work anymore. They share a lot of the same values. They just have two different means of getting those results. And that the ultimate betrayal in Exodus was something I loved because where Megatron wasn't well spoken with the council, Orion Pax was, and that was what allowed them to basically dub him Prime, and Megatron felt betrayed, which made great sense in terms of their relationship. So something has got to go wrong in this movie, and I'm not really sure what it's going to be. I mean, obviously, we've seen the trailer. We know that these two are working together with a group of other Autobots. But I would have liked to see this gladiator scene, and I'm hoping that when it comes out 4K, Blu-ray, digital, whatever, however you get your movies, I'm hoping that we get this deleted scene so we can kind of see what they were hoping to flesh out. They had 90 minutes. Couldn't they make it 96 minutes and include this origin story for Megatron, try to keep it intact? I mean, if I loved it, I'm sure there was lots of other people out there that enjoyed it as well. The article then goes on to explain a little bit about what they've done for Cybertron specifically in this film, because in most of the Transformers movies, or most media for that matter, when we see Cybertron, it's usually that dying planet post Civil War. It's not very often that we get to see what Cybertron really looked like before all shit went down on that planet, Decepticons and Autobots raging war against each other. So, what exactly have they done to separate the Cybertron that we're going to get in Transformers 1 from all the other times we've seen Cybertron as a planet in another form of media? It goes on to say part of this was making sure the planet looked beautiful and vibrant, a place the robots would actually want to live in, with a whole robot ecosystem like robot deer. Okay. The main city is not only massive, but it has some unique design details like upside down buildings. Okay, so we're gonna get a little bit creative here, and I kind of dig it. Like I've seen lots of pictures of Cybertron, but this is kind of I don't know. This is gonna be an interesting take. I'm not sure how I feel about robot deer, but I imagine they had some forms of animals on the planet at some given point. We'll see how it kind of plays out. Transformers 1 comes out on September 20th, and you bet your ass I'm going to be seeing this movie. Let me know in the comments if you guys are excited to see it as well, or what your thoughts are on them comparing this revisit to an origin story as going back to the old Republic in Star Wars. I don't agree with that statement. I think it's a little out of touch, but I understand kind of what they're trying to allude to. Hey, we're revisiting, we're rebooting a origin story, and hopefully we get ourselves a couple movies out of this deal. If Transformers 1 is a success in the theater, I imagine it'll it won't be very long before we get another film. But I'm just hoping we can flesh out the Civil War. Let's spend some more time with the politics. Let's spend some more time forming those relationships. Often, when we get into Transformers media, they're already well established. The history is that, well, it's just that it's history. It's not something that we're usually witnessing firsthand. So, I'm excited to see what this movie, possibly multiple movies, brings us, but I don't think it's going all the way back to the old Republic. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, give us a movie about the 13 Primes, and then we'll talk about your old Republic, all right? Well, that's it for me. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more, and let me know in the comments, do you agree with the assessment here that we're going back to the old Republic era? How do you feel about that assessment? Did you learn anything from the article or did you find anything interesting? And let me know, are you excited for Transformers 1? I'll see you guys next time.